Welcome to the Advanced Workflow Builder from HighLevel. Today, we're diving into some of the complex use cases, best practices, and all of the amazing things you can do within the Advanced Builder. We're talking parallel workflows, switching between workflows, all of the different things that you can use in order to build workflows faster, more effectively, and keep things organized along the way. I'm super excited to bring this to you, so feel free to build alongside me as we dive into all of the awesome stuff that you can do with the Advanced Builder. My name is Andrew. Let's dive right in. Now, before we go crazy, remember, you can get to the Advanced Builder simply by opening up any workflow, navigating to the top left, and clicking Advanced to switch from Standard to Advanced. Now, as soon as you get in, you'll notice that the Advanced Builder functions more as a visual canvas, like a whiteboard, which you can use in order to build out workflows. But you'll get started with triggers or actions, which you can drag and drop from the right-hand side of your screen. We're going to be operating with nodes instead of triggers or actions, just to keep things organized. And you'll know the difference between the two because actions have a dot on either side in order to make connections, and triggers have a dot only on one side, like this. Now you can connect your actions by dragging these little lines between them, as you just saw. You can delete these lines by clicking the trash icon, and you can even add actions in between them by clicking the plus icon in order to add additional actions in between our different actions within our workflow builder. You'll also notice that these by default work in a horizontal left to right fashion. Your triggers will be on the left and your actions will be on the right, but you're not restricted to that by any means. You can absolutely move your triggers to be on top of each other, move your actions underneath, put anything wherever you want it to be in order to make it look the way that you want it to. But of course, if it ever gets too complicated or a little messy, you can use the format tree at the bottom left-hand side or the keyboard shortcut of the number 2 in order to format this and then put it back to this horizontal fashion. Now let's get into the fun stuff. How do we build more complex automations faster, more effectively, and keep things organized along the way using the Advanced Builder? The first thing that I'm going to recommend is the use of sticky notes. Sticky notes are awesome, and now they can go behind your workflow actions in order to organize different actions within the workflow builder. So let's say we want to organize this flow just like this. We can use our sticky note action. We can size it appropriately. We can title this as workflow 1. We can bold it, italicize it, underline, add images, add bullets and links. We can also change the font size here. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger just to make it easier to read. And once we're done, it will sit our workflow neatly on top of our sticky note to keep things organized. Now this is great, but it's really useful for managing multiple workflows or parallel workflows within the Advanced Builder. This is one of the coolest parts of the builder and the biggest difference between it and the Standard Builder. For example, right now, if we hop back to the Standard Builder, you can see that this workflow has one point of entry, which is our triggers, and then it goes through top to bottom through all the different actions. If we wanted to have a second workflow for, let's say, a different quiz being submitted with this trigger, we'd have to make another workflow outside of this and then have to switch between the two whenever we want to manage them. But with the Advanced Builder, we can run both of them side by side in one place. So for example, we've got our first workflow here. What if we want another workflow that does something similar? Maybe it's in the same use case, same line of business. We want it to still be in this workflow. What we can do is we can drag and copy this workflow. As you just saw, you can click and drag different actions to copy all of this within the Advanced Builder. We can use Command C to copy, and then we can paste. And then just like that, we now have a parallel workflow, which we can use within the Advanced Builder. So what we'll do is we'll make this sticky note a little bit smaller. We'll keep this organized up here, and then we'll go ahead and duplicate this sticky note using this duplicate button. Then we'll click down here to save it on the canvas. And then just like that, we can highlight our second workflow, paste it in here, title this as workflow number 2, and lastly, give our sticky note a different color. Voila, just like that, we have two parallel workflows neatly organized in the Advanced Builder. They can both run off of different triggers, perform different actions without interfering with each other. I like to call these parallel workflows, but these are also called delinked nodes. We have a full video going over these different features and how delinked nodes work. Essentially, it's the process of having nodes within our workflow that aren't connected. That's why they're delinked. So if you want to learn more about that, you can click to learn more about delinked nodes. Back to our more basic version, this is really useful because it allows us to hop between different workflows and keep things organized using sticky notes. And even if we want to have one seamless workflow, we can still keep the different steps organized using our sticky notes and using our titling and such in order to keep them organized. For this case, let me show you this, a slightly bigger master internal workflow that has multiple workflows all running kind of simultaneously off of different triggers, and we have everything organized here. This is an internal project management workflow for an agency. So we've got 4 different sticky notes, which can easily be managed. So if you have like a team member that's coming into high level and they don't really know how to get started, or they don't know what's happening where, you can organize things with our sticky notes. And we can see right here, we've got our assigning contacts to George or Andrew based on pipeline. So this works great because we can see, whenever an opportunity is changed for George or whenever it's changed for Andrew, these people, which are basically 2 versions of me, then we can immediately assign them to the right people. And we can see that this is organized and separated in one little part. So this is really one of the best practices for using the advanced builder, is using sticky notes to keep things organized, and also titling. Make sure you title things appropriately so you know exactly what's happening. For example, I don't have to actually go through each one of these triggers and actions to know what this flow does. I know it is a qualification, tagging, and task flow. So it is qualifying customers and then adding tasks and tags, as we can see here. Then up here, we have different workflows also running off of sticky notes. And we'll talk about part 2 of keeping things organized and best practices, which is commenting. So being able to leave comments in your workflows is really important, especially if you're working with team members or planning on selling your workflows as snapshots. It's the same thing as leaving comments in code. If you ever talk to any developers, you know that having properly commented code that has all the different information that people need to know whenever they're jumping into it from scratch is really important. And we can do that by hovering over any action, clicking the 3 dots, and then clicking Notes. Notes is how we leave our comments or notes on these different actions. But you can see right here, we have a note from me saying what this if statement does. So this is really useful because if we don't want to dive into this and actually see what's happening on this if statement, we have a comment to keep things organized. And again, I would highly recommend you leave comments on not all of your actions, just the ones that are a little bit more complicated, that have multiple filters that might be difficult for people to understand. And again, as we were talking about with that organization, here we have part 1 of a workflow, and then we have part 2. And you can see these are connected via a go-to action, but we're still keeping them organized because they're doing different things. So even if you want to use one workflow, but separate the different sections using sticky notes behind the actions, this is a really useful way to keep things organized. Also, you might have noticed that I mentioned keyboard shortcuts earlier. So if you navigate to the advanced builder and go to keyboard shortcuts at the top left, it's a little keyboard icon. You can see the roughly 30 different keyboard shortcuts that you can use with the advanced builder to edit, to view, to navigate your workflows. They're all really cool. We have a full video going over that, so you can click the link if you want to learn more about keyboard shortcuts. But we're going to be using some of these like copying and pasting, using our tab actions to open up the switcher over here. Tons of really fun stuff that's really useful using keyboard shortcuts. Another awesome feature of the advanced builder is our workflow switcher. We can get access by either doing Shift W or by clicking workflow switcher right here. So this gives us the ability to switch between workflows. It will give us a list of all of the most recently used workflows and then also the date when they were updated. So if we want to switch to one, we can just click that button. It will then switch over to the workflow, so that way we can navigate between the two easily and make adjustments on the fly in case we want to copy actions or modify different workflows simultaneously. For example, this is super useful if, let's say, we want to open up a new workflow or start consolidating our workflows. We can actually take this new workflow, which we have here. We'll go ahead and copy some of the steps by dragging and then clicking Command C. And then we can go back to our other workflow, which we're doing all of our work in right now. And then we can immediately paste just like that. So we can bring in our workflows into one workflow by using this workflow switcher and our copy and pasting functionality. And then as we talked about earlier, we'll go ahead and duplicate one of our sticky notes. We'll throw it in here. We'll resize it for this new workflow. And then we'll change the color. And just like that, it really doesn't take that much work to keep things organized and make sure everything looks really good within the advanced builder. Now back in this workflow, which actually has some users in it, I'm gonna show you our stats view. So stats view is not unique to the advanced builder, but it does look different. So if we can see this, this is what it will look like. For example, this is an email stat. So we had 98% deliverability, 67% open rate, etc. So this will essentially expand the action within itself, which is really cool. As you can see, it just opens up that action just like that. So that's really cool. Gives us the ability to view our stats for different actions like email, SMS, ones that have deliverability, how many contacts have gone through them, and stuff like that. And of course, right next to our stats view is our errors button. So we can click this. It will open up our error screen. This will show us any problems with our workflows where we're receiving any errors like looping or anything that's not supposed to be happening in our workflow will show up on this screen, which is really cool. Another benefit of the advanced builder are our go-to connections. So let's say we want to have multiple triggers that are launching this workflow 1. We'll go ahead and open up the trigger window, throw in a new trigger for contact tag. Now, what if we want to use this trigger to also launch this workflow? We can add this just like that. It'll just be the same as the standard builder. But what if we also want to send it to a different part of the workflow? So rather than just sending it to that first step, we can also drop it over here. So we will skip this update contact field action and then send it straight to this if statement. And that is what we call a go-to connection. So this gives you the ability to really fine tune which triggers are launching which parts of the workflow. For example, if we want to have 2 of these, we can copy this trigger and go ahead and paste it. And then we can send this second trigger to another part of the workflow. So what if we want to have, for example, a wait timer at the end of this if statement? We can send this trigger straight to that one. So there we have 2 different go-to connections that are interacting with the same workflow, but they're not launching it straight from the top. We have another video going over go-to connections. It's really helpful to learn about how these function. So feel free to click that and learn more about those. But this is a really cool part of the Advanced Builder. Helps you kind of keep things organized and send your contacts to the right part of the workflow at the right time. Now, those are our trigger go-to connections, but what about our actions for go-to? So we still have that go-to action, which we all know and love. We can use this within our Advanced Builder to do a lot of fun stuff. This is really going to help us in terms of sending contacts to multiple places at the same time. So for an example, what if we want to add this go-to in between these 2 steps right here? We'll go ahead and send this here. And if we want this to just act as an intermediary, that would do it, but that doesn't really do much. What really makes this useful, so we can send this, let's say we want to send it to the remove tag action downstream. And then let's say we want to build a second part of the workflow using another trigger. So we'll use this contact tag trigger. Then we'll add this into here. You'll also notice that immediately when you add in triggers, they will default to the first branch sometimes. So make sure just to delete those. That should be fine. But now we can send this to the rest of this workflow. So just being able to see stuff like this, seeing how different workflows can interact with each other, you can get an idea of how this makes it easier to test, debug, modify, and make more complex automations using the Advanced Builder. This is great because as you can see, we've got 2 different workflows. We changed the trigger from one, and now it's sending this first branch to another place within the same automation. So if we want to test which emails are getting good deliverability, which actions are failing, or even just build workflows where one contact goes through and does 5 different things all at the same time, that's really useful. And my last piece of advice for using the Advanced Builder is build systems like this, where you can have multiple workflows simultaneously running within one canvas. This makes it easier to manage your automations, manage contacts, see where contacts are going through your different automations. And if you already have folders of 5 or 6 different workflows, why not consolidate them using that copy paste feature into one automation within an advanced built workflow? Again, make sure to follow those best practices. And if you have any questions about the Advanced Builder, refer to the help doc. There's tons of content to help you learn how to use the Advanced Builder better, more effectively to build better workflows. My name is Andrew. If you have any questions, refer to the help doc or leave a comment. As always, thank you very much for watching.